I'm Bridget Mancini. I'm the Ravalli County Fire Adapted Communities Coordinator for the DNRC. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We'll start off by going through the agenda. So we'll just start off with some meeting guidelines, go over some brief introductions. We'll do a little spotlight on the Bitterroot Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Try and develop a council mission, come up with a name, and then go over some next steps, action items, and then some time for Q&A. No one right way to do anything. And then what is said here stays here. So we want to build that respect and trust and transparency. No gossiping.
Oh, you ready?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just.
Anna has to swipe it for us. Maybe.
Not yet.
Go on, one more.
There we go.
Yep, we got it. Never mind. Okay, so we covered some introductions last meeting, and tonight we're just going to go through it real briefly because we've had the fortune of already meeting most of you. So I'll go first. Actually, Bridget already went first, but I'll follow her. So my name is Mike Tornetta, and I am a resident here in Victor, and basically retired fire service, deputy fire marshal, fire investigator, inspector, company officer. So, and I can contribute to the council my time and hopefully some of my prior experiences. So if you don't mind, we'll start with you and we'll work our way down the room.
I'm Yancey Roble, the Rock Mountain Lab Emergency Response Manager.
I'm Tom Pilkington, resident of Huntington. Very interested resident, property owner. At my time, whatever skills I have.
Judy Anderson. I live up on Canyon Creek Trailhead Road. I'm very interested in anything that is fire hazards. I know we have to live with fire. And I'm retired, so I have time to contribute whatever might be needed. And I was thinking more along the lines, as I was looking at this chart, which we had last week, where it talked about neighborhood ambassadors. I was thinking maybe that was an area where I could done something like that in the past year.
Ken Brewer, Florence, and I'm representing the Lawrenceboro Fire District, where I am the current chair of the board of trustees and also a member of the department. Probably I can contribute time. I think I have some useful skills still, and potentially some resources. I've written a number of successful grants and some other things.
Right behind you.
I'm Raylene Gall. I'm here from Victor Fire. I'm retired from the U.S. Forest Service after 37 years. I worked in lands and realty, and I'm also a Type 1 logs chief among the national teams. So spend a lot of time in fire.
I'm Earl Gray. I'm also on Victor Fire and on the board. And so I'm hopefully useful in the town here. We'll see.
Sure you are.
Bruce Ingram. I live on Lost Horse, south of Hamilton. I am chairman of the board of Hamilton Rural Fire District, retired deputy chief of Montana DNRC, and I can probably contribute most of those things.
Byron Bonney. I live in Stephenville, retired Forest Service. Work for part-time for Bitterroot Resource Conservation and Development, running a grant program to do fuel mitigation on private land. In fact, I'd say Judy is probably more of a champion than an ambassador. So anyway, I'll help out wherever I can with my time, any skills I may have, anything. So.
Good evening, Matt Young. I'm a forest AFMO in the Bitterroot National Forest and Fuels. And I live in Florence with my wife and 2 young kids who are at T-ball tonight. I think that I would like to keep coming to the meetings just to kind of hear what ideas you guys are having. And then also, you know, we're really making a push on that landscape scale treatments and resiliency there. And so if we can tie in and marry any of our efforts with what we're kind of identifying here, definitely looking for opportunities to do that. Get that landscape scale piece done. Work towards closer to it.
My name is Brandon Broughton. I work for Payne West Insurance in Stevensville, and also serve as county president for the Valley County Farm Bureau Federation. And I guess in terms of tribute, I guess maybe skills and resources, time sometimes feels very limited.
Patrick Hackley, beef producer, cattle rancher, live on Dutch Hill Road, just west of Corvallis. I feel like I can contribute all of those things. I forwarded you some information about, to have Taylor Brown and some other people help us get some messaging out. So between Brandon and I, we actually served as Bay State officers together almost 20 years ago. And so we know a lot of people that can help us get our message out.
I'm Krista Mortensen, DNRC out of the Southwestern Land Office here based out of Missoula, and I'm the Community Preparedness and Fire Prevention Specialist. So I cover all of Ravalli County.
Mark Wilson, I'm the Forest Fire Management Officer for the Bitterroot National Forest. Live in Stevensville. You know, I think for us, it's, and what really excites me is this look at the whole landscape across all ownerships. You kind of mentioned it, you know, we always have and always will live with fire, you know, especially in the Bitterroot Valley and Bitterroot Mountains. And being able to look at it as a whole landscape and on both sides of federal, private, state, county ownerships. Thanks.
John McKenna, I live up on Bear Creek Trail, and I've had experience with using Byron's grant program and the DNRC to do some fuel mitigation on my property up there. I'm also a volunteer with Victor Fire and have been involved in several home risk assessments with Anna and Christian. So, and then I think, as I mentioned last time, it's an effort as part of the All Valley Fire Council. Bruce and I, was 15, 18 months ago, restarted an effort to look at, take a harder look at subdivision regulations in Ravalli County to address mainly fire exposure and fire prevention, fire resistance. So I'm semi-retired. I do work on the hospital ambulance occasionally, but I have I think time and energy and some knowledge to share.
Good evening, Anna Bateson, Bitterroot National Forest Fire Prevention. And what do I feel I can contribute? I would say skills and experience.
Oh, yeah. Scott, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thought you were gonna get away sitting in the dark, right?
All right, we'll move over to Zoom and we'll start with Dar. Dar, are you there? All right, let's move to Fran.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fran Graham. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Emergency Management there in Red Valley County. I say there because I'm actually not in the state right now, but, but I'm the Deputy Director. And as a representative of the Office of Emergency Management, I want to give all the support I can.
Thanks, Fran. Next on my list, I have George.
Hi, George Korn. I'm just a concerned citizen listening in.
Thanks, George. How about Michelle?
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dietrich, and I'm also a concerned citizen. I guess what I could contribute, well, I live south of Hamilton on the forest. I guess what I could contribute is what a homeowner runs into trying to find ways to make their house more fire resistant. I have 2 years ago, and I signed up for fire risk within DNRC and never heard from them. And I recently did a month ago and never heard from them. And then I left a message. I mean, I think I'm trying to educate myself, but I think it's seems to be a difficult road to try to get information. What are fire resistant materials for building? What's the best way to work that 100 feet around the home that Jack Cohen speaks of? I think my experience just, trying to figure out how to get that information, I think I can contribute to this group.
Thank you. Make sure we can.
Thanks, Michelle. Let's move to Tyson.
Yeah, I'm Tyson Woods. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief at Hamilton Fire. I'm just kind of sitting in as a liaison for Hamilton Fire right now and kind of looking forward to seeing where this goes moving forward and how we might be able to help out.
Thanks for joining us tonight. How about Skip?
I'm Skip Kowalski, retired from the Forest Service, retired in 2008 as a wildlife biologist, and I'm currently with the Bitterroot Forest Collaborative, and that's a group that is a pretty diverse group of folks who's interested in National Forest System management and making comments and recommendations to Forest Service projects, and I'm here to see how our group might be able to help you folks out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Skip. Let's see, we have two Michaels. Let's do Mike Kent.
I'm Mike Kent. I'm a local director of the Bitterroot Valley Board of Realtors and also co-chair on the Government Affairs Committee. Retired after 34 years emergency services in 2014. Did have experience in the fire services, both wildland structure and fire investigation, as well as equipment and vehicle inspections. And I'm here to be able to help educate clients and buyers and sellers in the mitigation process and help get information out to homeowners.
Thanks, Mike. How about the other Michael?
My name's Michael. I live over by Corvallis, and I'm just a concerned citizen trying to gather some information.
Thanks, Michael. Let's see, William.
Hi, I'm William Corres, the Director of EMS and Emergency Preparedness at Marcus Daly Memorial Hospital. I'm just here to see what the hospital can contribute to this organization.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Janet. How about Dar? Janet, do we have you? Okay, I guess not. Did I miss anyone else? On Zoom land?
Bridget, this is Fran. I'm not sure that Dawn knows that we can't hear because she's unmuted twice.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute to get them to talk, but.
I'll text her. I'll text her.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, for the sake of time, I'm gonna kind of breeze through this pretty fast. But just in case anyone does not know what a community wildfire protection plan is, according to the National Wildfire Coordinating Group, a community wildfire protection plan identifies and prioritizes areas for hazardous fuels reduction treatments and recommends the types and methods of treatments on federal and non-federal land that will protect one or more at-risk communities and essential infrastructure, and recommends measures to reduce structural ignitability throughout the at-risk communities. You can switch it. So the Bitterroot does have a community wildfire protection plan already. The Bitterroot RC&D received a grant from the Forest Service in 2002, 2003. Byron, correct me if I'm wrong at any point. So the 2006 version is the approved and adopted version right now. There was a 2010 update, but it was not approved because of the WUI map. But the purpose of the plan was to position fire protection agencies, county leaders, rural communities, valley residents, and forest owners and managers to better prepare to protect the county's residents and its natural resources from the potentially devastating impacts of wildfire, and to promote the role of fire in the ecosystem. All the issues and actions that were developed by the community teams fit into one or more of the 4 primary areas of emphasis, which include improve wildfire prevention and suppression, reduce hazardous fuels, restoration of fire adapted ecosystems, and community assistance. I'm not going to go through all the action items, but just so people can see what work has already been put in, there are several action items under each category, and even within the action items, they have additional tasks and whatnot. So there's improved wildfire prevention and suppression, reduce hazardous fuels, restoration of fire adapted ecosystems, and community assistance. There is the possibility of updating the CWPP. So in the future, if the council decides to do so, that is something that we could work on. So just wanted to put that out there and get our minds flowing. And
Is that available online?
it is, yes.
Could you send a link when you send out the notes?
The follow, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So if you go to the DNRC website, or actually even just Google Bitterroot CWPP, it'll probably take you directly to the DNRC.
Actually, I know where it is. I was just suggesting a link so that everybody could find it really easily when they
Right. Well,
get their
yeah.
invitation to the next meeting.
I agree. I think it was in the invitation to this meeting.
Yes. Oh, was it?
It was, yeah, it was attached. So. but
Because
it's-
that only works if people actually look at the invitation and use the link.
Yes, I agree.
But it didn't have the appendices.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And
and
you have access to the appendices, with
Those-
all the maps. I
yeah.
assume they were too big to put in a PDF.
they are, and they're separate, so yes, and that can be found on the DNRC website. So yes, that's definitely valuable to look at. And the one that was attached was the 2010 update. The 2005 is what will be on the DNRC website because that is the fully signed and approved copy that is guiding us so far. And a CWPP is really important because it unlocks many doors. Grants often require a CWPP in order to access the funding that they'll provide for wildfire protection. They want to know that you've researched and you have a plan and you're guided by this program. It also is, it's there. Byron did a lot of work with the WUI Task Force group to research and put the information together in this plan. And so it's something that it's already out there. We don't need to reinvent a lot of wheels. Like we have a framework here that we also can go off of and update definitely if needed. It's my guess is things have changed in the past 11 years. Usually you want to update a CWPP every couple of years. So it is needed. There actually is funding available to do a CWPP update, but we have to have the infrastructure in place to do that CWPP update. And so that is a potential role that the council can take on if the council chooses. So it is a potential action item that is right there that we can use, and it's a guiding document for wildfire preparedness that would govern the whole county.
Yeah, that plan is really dated. There wasn't a lot of guidance back then in terms of a CWPP, so we kind of reinvented our own. Now there's a lot more guidance out there that we can latch onto and really update this plan very, very well now. And so I think it's something that we really need to think about. The other thing, there is, I think, 11 maps, I believe, in the appendix. And those maps were not generated by ArcGIS, so they're a little hard to read. You can zoom in, but you lose a lot of stuff. So the WUI map we developed in 2009, that is not on there. But I can provide the information to you folks, and you can get it out to the group. And that one is ArcGIS familiar, and you can really see things a lot better on that map.
Now, who has to approve the CWPP?
What's that?
Who has to approve the CWPP? Is it
Well,
county commissioners or?
the signature page is right there.
Oh.
It's a lot of people. So basically, the county commissioners have the last say, whether they will approve it or not. And in 2010, they did not. So they reverted back to the 2006 plan and said, this is the one we're going with. So we really don't have an identified WUI other than the high priority maps that are a part of that plan that we originally put together.
And that's a critical component of a CWPP is the identification of what are you calling WUI? What's your definition of WUI? And what WUI do you have? And so that is critical.
So can I ask a question about that? On page 1 of this Community Wildfire Protection Plan, it says it was updated 2010. It appears the Forest Service, DNRC, and Bitterroot Resource Conservation and Development were the authors of this document. Is that correct?
Well, yes, they were supporters, but it also was the WUI Task Force group was a collaborative group that their task was to to research and do the CWPP. And that's one thing too, is that if we do an update, a CWPP should be a very collaborative process and include voices from all different stakeholders in that process. And the WUI Task Force did have public input, it had fire professionals, and but if we did a CWPP, update, we would want that as well. And our council is an embodiment of that, right? Concerned citizens, fire professionals, local businesses, insurance agents, and hopefully a number of stakeholders, a broader representation of stakeholders to provide input to that CWPP.
And one thing, Judy, just touch on that a little bit from a Forest Service perspective. We can provide support and input to the plan, but it truly is a community county plan. It's the Forest Service is not the driver and isn't a signer to it because it is a community plan. With that being said, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan really gives us the input from the community on what areas are important to you. And that plays a lot into us competing for funding to treat fuels. If it's not a priority for the community, we're going to struggle to treat on our side of the fence. And that's where that tie to the Community Wildfire Protection Plan is important to us to be able to focus on our side where, you know, the county, the community feels is the highest priority where it is.
Yeah, I was just trying to connect, who are the drivers and what is the relationship of this council that you're forming now to the drivers?
It's very similar in that back then we hired a fire specialist and a GIS specialist to basically sit down and do the 2010 plan. And we held a lot of public meetings. We went to the All Valley Fire Council, presented it, and we did a really, I think, a good public information job in promoting the plan. But without getting into it too far, when we presented the plan to the county commissioners, they basically said no. Because of the WUI map. And there's two issues that came out. One was personal property rights and insurance rates. How will this be used by everybody? And so basically they just decided that we're going back to the old plan. So that's kind of a little history behind the 2010 plan.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we would
Just
take the place of the Louis Task Force group. So we would be the driver. This council would be the driver. Like the Louis Task Force.
So your question was what type of influence that we would have is, I imagine it's a direct influence. So that this council with all the wealth of knowledge and history and experience, together with the community and all the local investors, we could come up with that plan to move forward and revitalize it. So
as far as the task force basically folded into this council.
And just to clarify, when we say WUI, Wildland Urban Interface, I know it's easy to say WUI, but sometimes for those people that don't know what it stands for, it's Wildland Urban Interface. And that's where the wildland interfaces with residential, and there's that little buffer zone before it becomes completely commercial. So anyway, but I hate to prod us along because this is an amazing conversation and there's going to be a lot more to come. But unfortunately, we actually have some big ticket items on our agenda tonight that are going to require a lot of time and attention, and certainly want to respect your guys' time and have the ability to get you guys out of here on time. So we're really grateful that everybody showed up, and in interest of that, you mind if I take it from here for just a moment?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure by show of hands who's been in a process to do a mission statement before. I know I've been on a couple of them. That's great. So that makes me feel much better. I'm gonna just lean on you guys for your wealth of experience and been going through this before. Had the opportunity to put together a PowerPoint, but this is usually a 1 to 4 hour process and it can be daunting, and I'm sure everybody here understands that. So I'm really gonna try to push this through and streamline it within 30 minutes. So I'm gonna take it from the minimum and I'm gonna cut that in half once again. So I didn't put up a PowerPoint. If we could bring up that other field on the whiteboard behind you, I think if you just hit whiteboard, it'll come up. So, see, fingers crossed. Okay, technology at its finest. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna read to you guys, if you don't mind, just lending me your ears for a moment. If you guys can't hear me in the back, please just let me know. I'll try to pronounce it a little bit louder. But we're just gonna cover what the mission statement is, what we currently have, and then we're gonna go through just a quick process to brainstorm a little bit up on the board and then come forward with a mission statement. We currently do have one, we're just gonna try to breathe some life into it, okay? So, real quick, a mission statement allows everyone in an organization to clearly understand why they are doing their work. An organization's mission also guides its operational plans and describes the organization to the potential funders, clients, and beneficiaries. So just quick synopsis. So our current mission statement is, I'll just read it to you. It says, to serve as a hub for wildfire preparedness activities through proactive and collaborative programs, which is awesome. It's short, it's sweet. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out 2-paragraph thing. It should be something that you can remember and your employees can remember and the community can remember and know what we're here to do. As far as our council, it just gives us focus, direction, and when things come into question, we can just revisit it. So moving forward, so a mission statement needs 4 things. Basically, the number 1 is whom does the organization serve? So be thinking about these things as I review them. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. So second would be, what does the organization do? Third, why does the organization do it? And finally, how does the organization do it? So briefly, who, what, why, and how. And Bridget's going to be kind enough to be my scribe. And we're going to just lean on you. And if people are in Zoom land, please feel free to raise your hand and we would love your contribution of information. But basically, as we go through, we're going to just work on who right now. So whom does the organization serve? So for those of you guys that have been here before and understand how the council works, what would you guys suggest? Who should we as a council serve?
Private landowners.
Private landowners.
Oh,
Anytime you touch on.
right.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Anybody else?
All residents of
Ravalli
Little
County.
Valley.
All residents. Oops, sorry.
Random lower.
Right, lower.
We even practiced before, so don't judge us. Patrick, your suggestion was again?
All residents of the Bitter Valley.
All residents. You have another one over there?
I was gonna say the community,
The community?
so be visitors and people.
Sure. So a couple little thoughts on that too. So whom does the organization offer its products and services to? So if we're gonna go out and do assessments, or we're gonna write a grant, or we're gonna start reaching out to these people, who are these people that we're gonna offer this service to? So private landowners, could even be commercial business owners.
Bitterroot communities.
Say it again.
Bitterroot communities.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have someone on Zoom. Michelle says Bitter Valley Community. And then Mike says all present and future Valley County citizens. They cannot see the whiteboard, so.
Okay.
It's okay, they can hear us.
How you doing up there?
The handwriting's difficult.
That looks fine, I can read it. So the whiteboard's kind of interesting, you get close to it, you don't even touch it, and it starts to describe, but go ahead.
Just a thought, the word community is resonating with me as opposed to private landowners or commercial businesses, because I don't think we want to give you the impression of, because you don't want a shot at this, it's that's right. And you don't want to give an exclusionary kind of thought up there where people think, well, that doesn't, I live in a park, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter.
Absolutely.
You know, so, although the reality of it is, the boots on the ground stuff is going to be the private landowners. That's really where the focus is. So if we can send it out to the community.
I would comment that I agree that I think community encapsulates residents, landowners, private, commercial, residential. But Bitterroot, while it certainly, I think it resonates with us on the west side of the valley. Remember, we have an east side of the valley too. They also are in some hazardous fuel areas, probably not to the extent because, not just because of the amount of forestry, but because of our orientation and, and our, on the west side of the valley. But I would change Bitterroot to Ravalli County community.
Okay. Perfect. Kind of narrowing the target. Appreciate that, John. Thank you. Couple more thoughts. So what are characteristics of the target population and where is the target population? So would we like to stick within Ravalli County specifically, rather than saying the Bitterroot? I pose the question to you guys.
What do people consider the Bitterroot? Like,
Well, that's it. It's
I
pretty
think
open.
I think it starts at Lolo.
And
So
it's,
I don't know.
sometimes has boundaries and sometimes doesn't. It's pretty open-ended. So where we put it within our own county, our own jurisdiction, that gives us the ability to reach specific said community. So.
Right, at as you pointed out, it kind of starts at Lowell, or maybe it starts at the confluence with the Clarkport, but the gist of it is that it includes part of Missoula County, including Florence Fire District that is in both counties.
Yeah.
So you really can't exclude, you can't limit it to Ravalli County only.
Because you have a different set of commissioners there too. You know, so not only do you have the Ravalli County commissioners, I would think that we would want to involve Missoula County.
Kristen, you want to speak to that from your standpoint, or any others that have had experience with this?
Yeah, well, and that's actually the geographical boundaries are probably the most complex issue, because if we do include all of the Bitterroot Valley to include that upper end, then we definitely should have more representatives here, and that will increase the complexity. That's okay. I mean, that if that's the right way to do it, then we can do it. The other option is we cover Ravalli County, and we specifically state that we would like to work collaboratively across borders, across boundaries, and work with Missoula County on projects that covered the whole Bitterroot Valley. So we can describe the council as Ravalli County Center, but reaching out, which, we're a collaborative process anyways. So we want to reach beyond boundaries too, but that might be an easier way. The CWPP should be pretty much Ravalli County. But it doesn't have to be, but Missoula County has their own CWPP.
Can I throw out there too? Oh, actually, let Byron go real quick. He's had his hand up for a second, but.
Well, she just said it for me.
Okay.
Missoula County has their own CWPP and it's fairly new.
Right.
So, yeah, I think collaboration with them to make sure that we're in lockstep, basically with their CWPP and ours, specifically in the Florence area.
And Florence is the one that gets caught in the middle all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
There's about a quarter of the fire districts in Missoula County, about 3/4 are in Ravalli County.
Right.
So.
But that's why those who represent Florence, those who represent a greater area than just Ravalli County, we can be those bridges. We can be the ones that create that cross-boundary work and definitely transfer that information across borders and make sure that we're kind of doing it lockstep with each other. So.
I think
I think we need to capture Scott's visitors too, because we haven't captured those up there. And we do get our fair share of those folks.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts on that before we move forward? Anybody at home in Zoom land? Anything over there?
No, Mike just had a comment, one problem limiting to Ravalli County is the chance a wildfire will jump over to adjoining counties and communities, so.
Perfect.
That's all we have on Zoom.
And a lot of that will be addressed in the CWC with communications and stuff like that. Byron can speak to that, and also mutual aid, not only threats. So where everybody's able to work in unison for those threats. So. Okay, well, if there's not anything more on who, we'll move on to the what. So again, brainstorming. So let's clarify, what does the organization do? So what products or services do we offer? Okay. Education, assessments.
Technical expertise, resources.
Guidance.
Go ahead. If somebody has something, feel free to shout it out.
Partnering.
Partnering, collaborating. How you doing back there?
Do you help with the funding?
Guidance.
What about grant writing?
Grant writing. Goes lockstep with the funding.
You missed collaboration too.
I got it on my notes too, so we're duplicating.
I'm trying.
And tell me to slow down if you write too. I don't want to get ahead of you. Actually, right on schedule.
Information. Oh, we got something else.
Mark, we should say something about information, because one of the comments early on was somebody was calling the NRC about getting information. Part of this group, I would like to see where it's like a one-stop shop. If you got a question about wildfire, you can go here. You may get redirected, but at least they got someplace to go and they can get their question.
Perfect.
Might put grant writing up there with funding.
So Michelle on Zoom says, information about protecting your home, fire safe materials, Jack Cohen's work, organized evac programs for people, pets, and livestock.
Maybe like a resource center.
What are the thoughts of what do its beneficiaries or clients need or want? There are those people out there that we're serving, what do they want? What do they need? Also, how well do its current products and services meet the needs and desires of its clients or beneficiaries? So obviously, we don't have that history currently to be meeting those needs. We're kind of breathing life back into the council. So get up and kind of, we're going to change that a touch, but perfect. Any other thoughts? Products that we should be in the clientele with? Cool. Right. It's the education and information that you spoke about. So perfect.
I'd say coordination.
Coordination.
So we don't have duplicity of efforts, and it's part of collaboration, but it's also something managerial aspect.
Okay, moving forward. I told you I'd make it quick, so I'm trying to stick to that promise. So next, we're gonna explain why the organization does what it does. So why do we do what we do? Safety,
Protect lives. Protect our health. And structures and other values at risk.
I think you can encompass all of that under risk management. Risk for people, livestock, property.
Well, and there's also the fact that we are at very high risk. There wouldn't be a need if we weren't at such a high risk level throughout the county.
Isn't Ravalli County like in the top or something?
We're the number one.
In the nation?
No, in Montana, but actually, nationally, we're probably very high up there. as well.
Per capita. Number 10.
I'm
Numbers, and this is a big number, that's why we fall out.
right. Per capita, yes, the amount of people. but-
so why is this important? Why is it important that our organization does what we're doing?
Proactive measures.
Okay. Same thing, said different, prevention.
Fiscally responsible.
Not sure how to do it, but what we're trying to do is protect why we're here. We came here because of all the beautiful views. That's what we want. But I think saying protect values includes not just property values, it includes the values of why we live here, why this is such a fabulous place.
So stewardship of the forest land and wildlife.
I really like the word stewardship.
I would say stewardship, period, just stewardship.
So is there a function here where the council spans the gaps between agencies and other entities that have specific responsibilities that may not overlap? And,
Ideally, yes.
fills in those spaces.
Ideally, and if you don't mind.
Obviously, coordination is part of that.
Right.
And to some extent, collaboration is also. But there seems like there's another role where agencies and other entities can be able to.
Right, and ideally, it'd be nice to be considered a hub, not the hub, but a hub where people can go for that information and can also contribute their concerns, and we can hear them and then take action to help mitigate them. So it's kind of that.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking from a public service perspective of people coming to, but to assist agencies and other entities in coordinating and cooperating more effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. In multiple ways. I mean, one, it provides a forum where we can rub shoulders with those other entities and agencies, as you see in the room currently, right now.
All right, so well, it's this discussion we had about the community wildfire protection plan and the interface with the Forest Service, for instance, or DNRC. There's a function there that in the absence of that protection plan, then the Forest Service has to argue it out with all the other forests in the region and all the other regions in the country to get their share of the resources.
Kind of like what Sonny was speaking of last time we met, was the ability for us to help reach that community and educate them. So his comment was in regards to getting full momentum to do something in the forest, but all of a sudden the community didn't support it politically and it ended up fizzling out. But I I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, but I would foresee that being the ability to go both directions. Am I wrong or?
No, yeah. Well, and that's the idea of a council, is that if it has representative membership of stakeholders, they all work together, and Mark or Matt or Anna can represent that Forest Service side, hear the values and be able to reflect that in what they're doing, and work with other entities that are, you know, the DNRC, the private landowners, the fire districts, on projects that go across the fence. And so it does bridge that gap. We can create these collaborative, larger scale, multi-ownership projects, and cover that gap that you're talking about.
And Kenneth, real quick, I think it broadly could say, it's what we want to make it. I mean, we're here, if that's what we want to do, and that's what we want to focus energies on, and that's where their needs are, then hey, then that's what we're gonna make it. So that's why your voice is valuable, that's why we want to hear it, and because I don't know all the other historical things that have gone on, and that's why you guys are the council. So go ahead, Matt.
I want to talk a little bit about the safety up here. One thing we try to promote when we deal with landowners is not only your protection, but your neighbors and the firefighters' protection that have to come and help you at some point in time.
Sure.
So I think it's critical that we get that message across to people. A lot of people today think of themselves and nobody else, and I think it's critical that they understand that. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is the what. And I don't know if this goes up there or not, but it's just an idea. Is the state of Montana has just written a forest action plan. And that action plan has a lot of information in it. So, you know, utilizing and helping promote the forest action plan for the state of Montana is pretty important. And I think we can glean a lot of information out of that. We're going to make it specific to the Valley County, but there's a lot of good information in that forest action plan we can utilize, I think. So just an idea.
Appreciate it.
And it's like a community wildfire protection plan. The forest action plan for a state provides you access to funding and other resources through state and private forestry and through other FEMA and other venues. So
just to kind of expound on what Byron's saying relative to safety, I think why we're doing this is to create defensible space. And that occurs, in my mind, at two levels. One, with reduction of hazardous fuels and educating the property owner on what they can do to reduce the risk to their property structure, whatever their values are. But it also ties in to providing an opportunity, should there be wildfire, for fire agencies to go in and enhance that defensible space, where without the broader reduction in hazardous fuels, many properties are going to be completely indefensible.
And okay, the last one, Patrick, and we're gonna keep moving so that we don't get too far down in the weeds, but we keep it broad, short and sweet. But go ahead.
I think just generically for the why, people in this valley are eager for somebody to take action. Just the way the world is right now, we have a lot of empty promises from government agencies, the government in general, people in general. They want somebody that's going to take action. I think all of those things can be action items, but we have to do it.
So,
It can't be all talk and no action. We
and I
have
think
to,
that's imperative too. What you're
we
saying
have to do it.
is very important because I'm sure you guys are all with us, but we don't want empty promises. We want one of the main values that we have to be take action. So I would even go far as saying that I think that should be in our mission statement. This, and then take that action. But that's me personally throwing it out there, but I think that's something that we should.
I wasn't trying to, bash any government agency or anything. Because it's not the individual people that work at them, it's the wheels of bureaucracy that seem to go at a snail's pace when we need them to go a little faster.
Well, and we're not sitting in their desk or in their fire engine or anything like that, or doing their office stuff. Everybody's got something they're working through, and I respect that about everybody, regardless in this room or not, so. But us all collaborating, top notch. So I'm gonna move on to the how.
We did have two on Zoom.
Oh,
Just-
sorry, go right ahead.
We'll do those two quick. and then-
So
Thank you.
Fran says, why education? Education brings information which builds confidence, resiliency, and hope. And then we have Michelle who says to work together as a community to prevent home ignition and learn to live with fire. And then Michelle also says, shouldn't we be helping ourselves? Question mark.
Can you take a snapshot of that before it, so that we have a record of it, Anna? Can you take a snapshot of all of that, so we have a record of
Yeah,
it? She's running out of room.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the how. This will take a moment, but describe how the organization delivers products and services. Something short, sweet. What do you guys think about our action item of how we are gonna carry out all this stuff?
You have to tell the story.
Tell us.
So you have to have some type of marketing program.
Okay.
To me, as a resident, it's gotta be ongoing, it's gotta be in my face.
Okay.
All the time.
And all platform media approach.
Okay.
Social media, digital, radio. This
Yeah.
valley has really good radio stations, I will say that. The
But
ones
don't know what the
over there
FCC
are
rules
really
are
good.
on PSAs, but I know they're out there.
Mhm.
It's like pro bono work. We have to do so much, so, so you have to enlist somebody to help with that marketing agency. That's right. And somebody made comment the last meeting about schools, which I thought was terrific idea.
Definitely. And I did hear a couple of public information officers in the room last meeting as well, so.
And could I add a comment in regard to telling a story? Use words that make sense to the average citizen. I lived in the WUI for years before I knew I was in a WUI. I didn't know what a WUI was. So don't use acronyms that don't make sense.
That's why I wanted to
People who are
clarify.
deep in the woods.
Right. Okay.
On the groundwork.
Oh, Judy mentioned it. Ambassadors.
Champion.
There you go. I was gonna say Byron had a term for it too, champions.
Spark the spark of the program.
So what strategies will be employed to provide the right products and services to clients or beneficiaries? And so think of that strategy, and can that strategy be implemented given the context and available resources? So bring us back to, ground zero right quick, is yes, we want a lot of things, but let's also focus on what type of resources do we have that's attainable, that we can actually make something happen today without having to have a huge grant to push it through. Ideally, when we do get grants, that'll be awesome. We can have that future goal in place, but also let's have something in place that we can start now. So as far as action and how we will deliver that.
We almost need somebody that can represent the group in the actions.
I think you gotta get those assessments out there, because the assessments that we've got are from homeowners talk to a neighbor and say, hey, I want, I just had an assessment done. And that seems to be what gets it. I mean, all that other stuff is wonderful and it gives us some, makes you like a legitimate organization. But I think we've got to get those assessments out there and get it going. So people realize this is going to, this is the district that's meeting, there's things that are actually happening. That's how we're going to get the community talking. And that's what we got to do is get the community talking. Yeah, I agree with Scott, and it's almost akin to an election campaign where you need to recruit those folks that get out and go knock on doors and, spread word of mouth from someone who's participating in the program is great, but there's, that's reaching 1% of the population. I think we can't rely just on the media and print materials that we leave about and posters. We've got to get out there and put a face in front of those people, meet them personally and do a recruitment job on why they need to consider a risk assessment and how it's valuable to themselves and enhances the safety and protection of the whole neighborhood and community.
Sure. Your ambassadors or community leaders can, where I live up Dutch Hill, it's mostly small hobby farms and stuff like that. It's going to be different than where you live. It's going to be, different approach to how they think of wildfire protection, on this and different sides of the valley too.
Yeah.
And I'd echo that real quick and just say everybody in this room is an ambassador. Everybody on Zoom is an ambassador. That's why we're here. We're coming up with the same story, the same information so that we can share that with those around us. Byron, go ahead.
I think it's kind of important to tell and show success stories. There's a lot of success stories in this valley. There's some that aren't so successful, but I think we can key on why maybe that some of those weren't successful and then show those other success stories that will help get the message out and maybe change somebody's mind in terms of maybe mitigation, maybe just how they think about wildfire protection, anything.
Thank you. Yes, Chris.
This brings me to a go back on the what. We probably should put under what facilitate mitigation. Because honestly, all the public education efforts in the world means nothing if there's no reduction of fuels or mitigation done on the ground. As Michelle says, if nobody knows how and does not have the means to reduce their home ignitability, it doesn't matter how many PSAs we put out. And so the end result needs to be actual mitigation occurring. So I would say, what is facilitate mitigation? And I would recommend in the how is facilitating on the ground work. And that could be a PSA that brings people to on the ground. But from a PIO, from a public information standpoint, passive information is when you're doing PSAs, when you're writing a brochure, or providing brochure. That is a secondary form of action. Primary action, when you're meeting somebody and talking to somebody and helping them directly, that results in actual mitigation or action better than a passive form. And so while brochures are really important and we do a lot of them and we have that information and we need to provide that information, but you also have limited resources. And so maybe getting the most bang for your buck might be what we look at, and what results in mitigation on the ground might be the highest, or might be something worth prioritizing.
We
I
could
like-
also sponsor workshops and field trips.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so these are all good things that we can be doing. And I think a lot of it falls under the take action spot. And remember that I think sometimes we're creeping into a little bit of our goals that we want to do. But as far as just our mission, and just to give you a quick example, and I have several that would like to go through, but here's a Fire Safe Council mission. They said, Fire Safe Council is a diverse collaborative group dedicated to creating a fire safe environment through education, partnerships, and action. That's one of my favorite ones. But that being said, it's simple, it's to the point, it's up out of the weeds, it's 30,000 foot perspective. It allows us the ability and the flexibility to go any direction and pivot whenever we need to. So whenever we get to our values and our goals, then that's going to define a little bit more of exactly what directions we go. But that being said, I don't want to change screens because there's a lot of good information up there. If you guys would like, we can start moving into writing our mission. I think we have enough information up here to get our brains to think of what our priorities are. But I'd even go as far as, if we go to the who, let's just do that real quick if you don't mind. Actually, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, we have one, can we go to?
Oh, you got one of them?
We've got
Please go
one
ahead,
last
Ann.
comment from Michelle. She says, we need to inventory pets and livestock and find safe places to take them in a fire emergency. Information to hotels, restaurants, finding places for people to go, having basic necessities in an area of safety. This will protect our community.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, you captured that as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a process of, I don't wanna say elimination, but a process of prioritization. So as we go down the list and we think about the who we serve, so which one is the number one to you guys? Is it private landowners, all residents, Bitterroot communities, Ravalli County, or visitors of Ravalli? So all of this is all encompassing. If there's something that you guys can think of at this point, let me know. But as we start moving into our mission, which one would you guys say is our who? What's your number one?
Valley County.
Anybody else have anything else besides that?
If you capture the Valley County residents and visitors, that's pretty all encompassing right there.
Oh, this is hard.
That's very thin.
All right. Oh, gosh. Don't judge me. Okay. So Ravalli County residents and visitors.
We got one comment on Zoom.
Go ahead.
Again, from Michelle, I think we have to focus on the community, promote preparedness and survival. We do not have control of wildland fire prevention. We can only focus on the area around the home. And they cannot hear you.
Okay. Is this microphone here on? Okay. So how about this? What if we said Ravalli County community? That pretty much encompasses everything, right? Any?
Or communities.
Communities and surrounding areas, then you can kind of get your,
Okay.
your Florence.
So let's go with that then. Ravalli County communities, are we there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to what? So as we read through our what's, what does the organization do? So we're looking for education, assessments, technical assistance, thank you, partners, grants, writing and funding, guidance, collaboration, information, resource center, coordination, facilities, mitigation. All this is awesome. It's great stuff. How do we narrow it down to what does the organization do? What are your guys' number ones? What's that? Top two. Top two. So education, assessments. Anything else?
Mitigation.
Facilitate mitigation.
Mitigation. Okay, what else? That are top three. You guys good with that?
I think collaboration or coordination,
Okay,
either of those.
coordination, and collaboration. We'll take them. Kenneth, did you have something?
No, I was just getting my glasses off. They fog up when I have my mask on. If I take the mask off and put the glasses on, then I can see. So that's it.
All right.
No, I think that's good. The grant writing, funding, and technical assistance, they kind of roll into facilitating mitigation. Really.
Well said. Well said. Okay, so let's roll with that for now then. So we'll say education, assessment, collaboration, coordination, and facilities management, mitigation. Wait, yeah, facilitate mitigation. It's different from this angle.
So would assessment actually be technical expertise?
Ah,
Because isn't that what we were meaning by assessment?
I agree with you on that.
So I think I would probably, because then we're also not pigeonholing ourselves.
okay.
Because the insurance industry has a lot of technical expertise that they can provide here. as well.
Every insurance company is gonna be different. They're gonna assess. the-
Right,
State
but
Farm's
that's-
gonna do it different than yours. Huh, bro?
But the idea is, you know, yeah.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on here, which is great because you guys are gonna formulate this all into a sentence. We're gonna do a little English exercise here. Go ahead. Yep, please.
So Michelle says, I am against mitigation. It is too broad. You cannot prevent fires. This gives people a false sense of security. We can only prepare our homes.
So mitigation is reduction of risk. That is all mitigation is. So it's by doing defensible space on your home, Michelle, that is mitigation. By identifying your HIZ, your home ignitability, cleaning your gutters, that is mitigation. So that's what I was meaning is mitigation, and actually kind of what is generally accepted for mitigation. Michelle, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, anything before we do? Cool. All right, so now we're back to the why the organization does what it does. So do we do what we do to learn to live with fire? Do we do it for safety of neighbors and firefighters? Is that right?
Yes, you.
Do we do it to protect lives, property, and values or environment? Do we do it to protect proactive measures? Do we do it for
Fiscally responsible.
fiscally responsible? Okay, it takes a village. All right, do we do it to protect way of life? Do we do it for stewardship? Do we do it for
Education.
education? Do we do it for risk management? Do we do it for cross-boundary collaboration? And do we do it for defensible space action? So somebody give me a number one.
Safety.
Safety. So protect lives, property, values, or I always learn life, property, and environment, but all the above. What else?
Take action.
Take action. That's gonna be over here for our how, I think, Patrick. You all right with that?
That's fine.
Okay.
I'd say learn to live with fire. It's not going away.
Up at the top.
The very top
Very
one.
top.
All right.
And education was already on what, so I don't think we need to do it again.
Don't need to reiterate it. We already got it in there. Anything else as we're moving up? Okay, we got these three. You guys all good with that?
I would include stewardship because we're going,
Okay.
to educate every homeowner, landowner, resident that they are part of being stewards.
Part of the plan. We need them. Well said. Thank you.
It's part of learning to live with fire.
Well said. Okay, I'm getting close to you guys' hour, so for hour and a half. So real quick for the how the organization delivers our product or our service. So how are we gonna take care of it? We're gonna tell a story, common language, champions and ambassadors, media, assessments, word of mouth, knock on doors, show and tell success, on-ground mitigation, workshops, and take action.
Can we encapsulate all of that by saying take action?
I would say take action's pretty broad. That means that we just put boots on the ground and we march. So I'm okay with that. Are you guys okay with that? Okay. Take action. All right, now here comes the tough part. We're gonna take all of this, the who, what, why, and how, and we're gonna put it together. So let me do this. Free up some space here. Anybody get a snapshot of that yet? Okay, let me do that, so I don't waste all this good thought. Okay. All right, a little exercise and erasing here. Is there a bigger eraser? I truly was hoping for just a normal dry erase board, I promise. I am not complaining for this great technology we have. Thank you, Victor Fire.
Thank you, Rap Family Foundation.
All right, so anyways, as I'm erasing all this, I want you guys to be looking at the board and thinking about how you're gonna put this into a sentence. We're all gonna start working together on that sentence. Without writing a paragraph or a book. Okay. Any suggestions at this point? Okay, that's good. I'll reread it for a teaser, and then we can mimic it. Yeah. Okay. Sounds like this. The Fire Safe Council or the Fire Council. We're gonna go over the name. Maybe tonight. Depends on how fast I get this sentence up here, huh? Okay, let's be realistic. Thank you, Kenneth. So Fire Safe Council is a diverse collaborative group dedicated to creating a fire safe environment through education, partnerships, and action. So that's the
not a
one,
mission though. That's
What?
a description. That's not a mission.
right?
It's a
So,
description of who the group is.
so how do we take what we like out of that, the flavors of it, and make it into our mission? How's that?
Do we want to, I know we don't have time, but do we want to look at the suggestions that the people who did
Yeah.
put them in? and see
We
if
have a
there's-
lot of different suggestions,
Yeah.
yes, and we can go over that. So let me put this out to you guys. It's 8:23 right now. I had a promise to get this done in 30 minutes. I apologize for breaking that promise. There's a lot of information to get through on something that this scale. So that being said, we have the ability to table it till next meeting, to go home and let the juices work through. We have the ability to continue and push on, but I think we have a pretty awesome starting gate right here for our next meeting. So where are you guys at with this?
Why don't we all
Go
go
ahead.
home and all of us write a sentence, or some of us write sentences
Sure,
and send them to you.
I'd love that.
And then next week we could, or next month,
Let me
we
get
can
it
figure out
ready.
whose we like the best.
Okay. You good with that, Kristen?
Yeah.
How about you, Bridget?
Yeah.
Anna? Okay.
Can you do that, Anna, too?
She's our traffic control over there. Pretty amazed by her skill set. So, any other thoughts or suggestions at this point in time? I mean, I don't want to keep you guys late, but I think we made a lot of forward movement tonight, so.
What could we actually, could Bridget, you share with everybody the mission statements that have been submitted? I don't want those lost, because I
No.
think that they're, we thought of these now, but sometimes seeing something else, it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. So Bridget, she'll share all the
You have it on the
suggested mission statements that were already input. And then go over She'll also include either the JPEG of what we just went over, so you have all those keywords. And then you can reply to that email at the fireintheroot@gmail.com with your suggestion. Can you do that?
That's great.
Okay.
Do you want me to read through these real quick while we have a few minutes, or are we able to send these out in the email so everybody can have?
And we could do names now too, if we, and that might be something that we just want to get CSIS flowing again, and then that's a decision item or an action item for next one as well. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, yeah, I can send this in the emails, no
Okay.
problem. So
Awesome. And then you guys
let's
can
just do
review that and put that together with what we have. How's that? So spend about 5 minutes on name before we close it up
I
and
think so. And
Okay.
get CSIS flowing.
perfect. Thank you, everybody, for all your efforts with that too. Really appreciate it. It's a wealth of input.
So, what do we think on names? We wanna just raise hands for which one's the best, or?
It looks like, between Fire and the Root Mitigation Council and Fire and the Root Wildfire Council, why couldn't we call it the Fire and the Root Wildfire Mitigation Council?
Oh, that's a good way.
That's 6 times.
So as a matter of practicality too, just putting it out there, since Fire in the Red started as an outreach organization, there is a website already in place.
Yes.
If you haven't gone there, please go there, but fireintheroot.org, that's the name of them. So logistically, that's already in place. It doesn't mean that the name of the council has to follow that. I'm just saying that's already in place.
It's so much easier for
Yes.
But that's not this is your decision, but. And there are, there could be comments against Fire in the Root, is it explanatory? Does that, if somebody hears Fire in the Root, do they naturally know what the heck we're talking about?
No, it's short and easy and it's kind of catchy, but it doesn't say what it is.
Right.
And if you go Fire in the Root Wildfire Mitigation Council, it's not catchy and easy anymore, but it does
But
say
it's
what
very
it is.
explanatory, right?
I really like the Fire and the Root Wildfire Mitigation Council. It is a long name, but I think it
Says it.
it puts it all together.
It is descriptive. It
And-
does make, it's a crappy acronym.
Well, like she said, the website's already up, so, I mean,
Well,
then
and
you
we have the
have,
logo,
you
too.
just say, go to fireandtheroot.org. That's quick.
And I like that the websites, we had this discussion too. I like that the website's there and it's already created, but I also don't want that to be the only reason why we're not progressing to a name that actually fits exactly what we want to do.
Right, that's a
Can
good point.
Fire in the Root still just be kind of the overarching representation, but then the group that is actually working, doing action is Fire in the Root Wildfire Mitigation Council?
Well, Fire in the Root can be the outreach arm of the mitigation council. So you also could have the mitigation council be Ravalli County, and something else. And Fire in the Root is just the outreach arm of it.
I don't like it being called Ravalli County Fire Mitigation Team. You wanna know why? Because it gives the impression that we are a county entity again, and doesn't give the impression that you're all encompassing.
I agree. What about Bitterroot Fire Safe Council?
That gives me the impression you belong to the National Force.
Okay,
After working for them.
I appreciate that.
Fire, I think, like she said, Fire in the Root encompasses everybody in this room. You got farmers, ranchers, you got property owners, you got retired Forest Service people, you got a wealth of knowledge, you got firefighters. Yes.
And if somebody gets an email with that logo and says Fire in the Root, they're gonna read it.
Yeah.
Because it sounds urgent.
And I think when we do go into our door-to-door knocks, you can give them a 3x5 card with Fire in the Root, that logo, that's a really nice logo. And it's gonna resonate with them, like, man, I should probably pay attention to this. Like, it's not, I mean, we've all been to the post office, you know, around election time, the garbage is full of political stuff and the stuff from Super One, and I mean, it's all just gets tossed. We don't want that. I mean, when people see that, they'll probably pay attention.
You guys think
Personally, I
that should
like,
have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, personally, I like more simple. And more simple to me is, we've already got a website, Fire in the Root. Why aren't we the Fire in the Root Council?
I like
You know,
that.
Mitigation
I like that
is
too.
part of our council, but so is a lot of other things.
It also lets us know who we are. We're a council.
Yeah.
So the one thing we have run into is when you're talking about the council, there's also the All Valley Fire
Fire Council.
Council or Ravalli County Fire Council. And so that is something I've already run into, is saying the Fire Council, and they're thinking I'm talking about the All Valley Fire Council, and I'm talking about this one. So that's another potential.
Yeah, I think mitigation should be part of the council name. And I'm a little troubled with, we have Wildfire Mitigation Council, because remember, we have to educate people, you know, it's not, destruction of life and property doesn't always originate in the national forest or in the state forest.
Right.
Oftentimes it initiates by some negligent act of a homeowner. So Fire in the Root Mitigation Council, we're addressing, you know, the two-footed lightning as well as natural causes, strikes, lightning strikes that cause fire.
That's very true, and then you're not saying fire twice in that either.
So
Well,
Michelle
yeah,
says
yeah,
Community Protection Council or Fire Safe Communities Council. And Mike says, I like the Fire in the Root Wildfire Mitigation Council. It shows the difference between the government agencies and the Ravalli County Fire Council.
Okay.
Somehow I'd like to see you keep that fire in the root, because Anna and a bunch of people have done a ton of work on that. And they've already got that word out on the ground now. People know about it. So I think somehow we ought to be able to make that better instead of filling the difference.
So it sounds to me like we have fire in the root. So we all agree on that?
Well, with or without council at the end of it. Is that? But I did hear that as a suggestion also, which is equally short.
Yeah. Okay, great suggestion. Who wants, by show of hands, who would like to see the word council in it?
It's a descriptor of the entity, so
Yeah.
it kind of is pretty
Okay.
important.
So keep your hands up and I'll take a count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What do we have on Zoom?
So Michelle has, no, I think Fire in the Root is playing on fear. I would like to see safety in it.
Okay,
And as far as Zoom, that's all we've got so far.
okay.
Oh, we've got thumbs up and Fran says thumbs up and Mike has a question.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike. Or maybe he's just raising his hand. and-
No, I was raising my hand for the vote.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Another word for council is committee or commission.
Okay, let me flip the other side though, and make sure everybody's voice is heard. So who does not want to hear the word council in it?
Just leaving the fire in the root.
I'm not saying just leave it, but I'm just saying just removing the word council from whatever we decide. So if it goes mitigation or wildfire or what have you.
So one thing, thinking beyond in searching for funding and grants.
Okay.
A council is an entity. It relays what we are to the greater body, which is important. And there is an overarching, you know, there's a fire safe council group. There's Montana Fire Safe Council. Being part of that gives us access to a lot more resources and could definitely be beneficial. And so, you know,
Yeah.
council does have meaning, and it does potentially bring with it resources.
It is recognized on
Yeah.
a higher level.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Okay. So by a show of hands, it looks like everybody's, for the most part, good with moving forward with the word council in it. So that being said, we had several suggestions. Fire in the Root Mitigation Council, Fire in the Root Wildfire Council. So let's work that out. What do you guys want to do?
There was one suggestion about having safety in it. This is just an idea. What about Fire in the Root Mitigation and Safety Council?
Fire, say it again.
Fire in the Root Mitigation and Safety Council. So you're talking mitigation, fuel reduction, animals, all that kind of stuff, but safety, it's gonna resonate with somebody that lives in an apartment or in a subdivision or in downtown in one of our communities. It's a little more, again, it's long, but it's still keeping our fire in the root, all the work that's been done. It
So
kind of
we
encompasses
shall
it.
throw out the Fire in the Root Safety Council, and removing the word mitigation.
But that's too general. That could be.
Okay, so we're still with Fire in the Root Mitigation and Safety. Is that where we're at? We want to keep mitigation in there. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Any other thoughts, suggestions from Fire in the Root Mitigation and Safety Council?
What about just Fire in the Root Council?
What about Fire in the Root?
I like that, and educate the people on who we
On
are.
who we are, yeah.
Yeah, I like Fire and Earth Council, yep, that works.
I do too.
Name recognition.
It's short, it's easy, we can fit it on a name tag.
Doing
Fire in the
work.
Root Council.
Mitigation and safety will be.
Part of it.
Okay, and I know,
Evidence.
Kristen, that you spoke to that,
Oh, yeah, no, but I'm fine with
okay?
it's whatever everybody wants.
Okay. Any other thoughts, concerns, questions? All right. Fire in the Root Council.
In my mind, if at some point in time, everybody hates it, it's not set in stone, so necessarily, we can always
You can
change
put
it.
mitigation and safety in our mission statement
Put it
when we
underneath
craft
it.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we have a name. We are the Fire in the Root Council.
No,
I like it. Well done, everybody. Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. What else do you have in closing?
I guess next steps, next month, we'll go back to the mission, try and nail that down, and then start wandering into our goals, and then I'll leave it at that, see where we get there, because that still seems like a fair amount, maybe priority areas, but, and then, let's see. Does that sound good to everyone, mission? Yeah.
All of those things?
Mission and goals probably are gonna be the, yeah. We kind of jam it all in.
We're big on action. We want to make
Priority
things happen.
areas and projects that's a huge deal.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be its own.
Leave that one off.
Okay.
Or both of those off.
That I like that.
We are grateful for everybody's attendance here and on Zoom. Thank you to everybody that's come out tonight and that continues to come out. So, and if you guys have any questions or any last minute thoughts, please feel free to talk to us afterwards. Kristen, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, Anna or Bridget? Anybody else
Thank you.
in the council have anything else they'd like to?
Design that logo, get some out.
Okay.
We purchased it.
All right, I say we adjourn then. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you so
Y'all did a
much.
nice job.
One